To the point about the order of business, how it appears, but the specific nature of the order, your questions requires a written statement, not just oral statement, because there's a report. So that report has to be tabled. So when you're doing special sitting, you have to indicate what report is being tabled and what, because it has to be in form of writing. If it was just an oral response, that would have been different. So you are correct, except that there's a written report that has to be tabled, because he has to report back as a chair of that mortgages committee. So because it is something written and it has to be tabled, unless it is in writing and we put it on our special gazette, then the law would have allowed me to accept. But by virtue that the law says when you're doing special sitting, you have to be very particular on the nature of the business. That's why you even see we only gazetted 2 things.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua yale umesema yote, hata mimi ningependa leo niulize kama iwezekani. Mimi ni mmoja wa hiyo kamati. Jiusulu leo Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa sababu gani? Tangu tutakuwa hiyo kamati hatujaye kaa chini. Kiranja wetu anakaa chini peke yake na wafanyakazi na anasema tumemaliza. Siku nyingine wakati tuliuliza tukaambiwa ati Mheshimiwa Nyaundu amekuja peke yake na tukuambiwa. Mheshimiwa Speaker, ningependa kama hiyo kamati haifanye kazi, mimi nilichaguliwa kwa hii bunge nilikuwa kwa hiyo kamati na hatujaye kaa chini. Na wewe unaniambia utatupatia habari gani? Na hiyo hatujawahi kaa chini hata siku moja. Mheshimiwa Speaker, utuambie kama haifanye kazi, mimi niandike barua nijiusulu Mheshimiwa Speaker. Mheshimiwa Komena aendelee peke yake Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa sababu anasema nitawajibu. Nimeuliza anasema nitawajibu. Siku ile tulikuwa kuna siku ingefaa ulize. Akatoroka Mheshimiwa Speaker. Hakukuja bunge hii Mheshimiwa Speaker. Na kama inaendelea hivyo mimi sihusiki, kwa sababu mimi ni kiranja wa justice Mheshimiwa Speaker. Hata mfanyakazi, hata watchman ananiuliza maswali Mheshimiwa Speaker. Mheshimiwa Fred, pesa yetu imefika wapi? Na mimi ndio nafaa kuuliza yale mambo. Kama haifanyiki Mheshimiwa, kwa hii bunge Mheshimiwa Speaker, tuambie tujiusuru. Mimi najiusuru Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable Komena, I'll not give you a chance to reply. That concern is very important and it especially comes from a member of the committee. So I'll refer it back to the committee. Next order.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Gideon.
Since you have indicated and you have ruled that the matters should be discussed should be what is gazetted under this special sitting, could you be courteous enough and ensure that members get the copies of the gazette notice so that we can look at it?
Thank you very much. The same can be shared quickly. Next order.
Order number 8, motion.
Honorable Sang.
Order, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mengech.
Yeah. Honestly, Honorable Speaker, I don't get it. Number one, Honorable Speaker, the County Assembly of Nandi is a rubber stamp. Number one, Honorable Speaker, we cannot receive messages at 8 p.m. on serious business of the County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, it has not happened once, twice, but so many times I cannot remember. Second, Honorable Speaker, we cannot come to the County Assembly, have the report tabled, have a notice given, and we cannot have time to scrutinize a report. Honorable Speaker, I believe this is a process that has been aborted already, in the sense that you are not going to give us time to read the report, you are not going to give us time to internalize the report. Honorable Speaker, I believe, just as seen in the morning when the leader of majority raised serious issues here about maybe the staff, I think this is about leadership of the County Assembly, which bounces back at the Speaker. We cannot merely be like, I cannot just wake up in the morning, run to the County Assembly, a report is tabled, I need to read the report so that I know how to vote, I know how to respond. Honorable Speaker, honestly, we are not being fair to the County Assembly. We cannot be fair to the public if we serve the public. Honorable Speaker, I propose that we be given time to read the report before it's moved. In spite of the fact that you gazetted a morning session, while you know very well that when a report is tabled, we need time to scrutinize it before it can be discussed.
Honorable Fred, what is it?
Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kujulisha bunge ya kwamba hata hii hoja tuko naye muktasari hata hawajapeana. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kujulisha mheshimiwa rafiki yangu kutoka Lesos ya kwamba hii hoja imeanguka kwa sababu hawakupeana muktasari ya hii mswada. Mheshimiwa Spika, na nafikiri kama walipeana watuambie nani alipeana. Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable members, now that I wish to respond to Honorable Mengech, I need to make it clear this way. Number one, when a specific matter is referred and requires timely response, when we have our ordinary course of business during the normal sittings, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, after the COVID, we made them Wednesday, Thursday. We always stick to that. Honorable Mengech is a member of the House Business Committee. We always stick it to that. Now, on this particular matter, a reference is made to a committee and has to respond within 10 days of the same. Now, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that once those 10 days lapse, that report has to be tabled within a very specific time period. And that is why when you do special gazette, we specify the business. It is only during when you are doing, it is in exceptional circumstances, is when we gazette the same day we do tabling and consideration of the report. It is because of the importance of the nature of the business that had a strict timeline. Honorable Mengech, when you say that, when you talk about that the Assembly is seeking to ram itself down the throats of the members, it is coming from a point of understanding. Let me finish, then I can allow you. This one comes with a specific nature of the business. You've been here for 3 years. Every single time we have everyday business, we never do this. We always discuss in the House business, we allocate time, the tabling, the notice, all that is given. When it comes to special session, I think I'll have to refer back to the standing orders. Let me go back to the standing order number 30, and then we can get clear. Because there seems to be we are mixing two issues. Special sittings of the County Assembly. Let me read quickly. 31. Whenever during a session of the County Assembly stands adjourned, whether or not a day has been appointed for the next meeting, the Speaker may, on the request of the leader of the majority or minority, appoint a day after special sitting of the County Assembly. 2. The Speaker may allow a request under paragraph 1 if the Speaker is satisfied that the business proposed to be transacted relates to any urgent or exceptional business. I hope, Honorable Mengech, you have my attention. Urgent or exceptional business. Let me proceed. Number 3, the Speaker shall by notice in the Gazette notify the members of the place, date, and time appointed for the special sitting of the County Assembly. Number 4, whenever the County Assembly meets for a special sitting under paragraph 1, the Speaker shall specify the business to be transacted on the day or days appointed, and the business so specified shall be the only business before the County Assembly during the special sitting, following which the County Assembly shall stand adjourned until the day appointed in the County Assembly calendar. So special sitting is an exception. We don't do it every day. How often in a year do we do special sitting? This year, this is the second special sitting we are doing. The first one that we did was during when we were doing a supplementary. So we only do these ones on exceptional or urgent business. Now, the House referred a matter to the powers and privileges. Within 10 days, the powers and privilege has to report back. Why? There's a report by the committee that is laying in abeyance. This has to be considered before the other can go on. And that is why you haven't seen us, for example, combining the business together with the ad hoc. Because the first thing first, this one is urgent. We need to report back. You report back, the members consider, the members discuss in exceptional urgent circumstances. Honorable Mengech, you've raised an issue about the time. Last sitting we sat here, Honorable Gideon raised a challenge and made it extremely clear that the only notice the Assembly should be given when it comes to special sitting, it must be Gazette notice. The initial notice was given was on Thursday, but because we could not secure a Gazette notice for Thursday, we had to wait. As soon as the Gazette notice was produced, which was yesterday in the evening, within 15 minutes, the same was circulated for the members. So you cannot say it is laxity when Gazetteman is not done by the Assembly itself. Gazetteman is done by the National Gazette, Kenya National Gazette. That is fixed. Can we then give notice using our phone number? Not at all. It will be unprocedural. We have to give a Gazette notice. And unlike last time, we have printed the copies, stamped, received for members to see. So we set precedence. And I would want us to just stick to it. It is just plain and clear. If there is something, it is like requisition. You do not control a process if you are not in charge of the process. So even if you are seeking to blame and say this is the problem, then let us stick to there. Even if you are sitting here, you
Order,
do the
Honorable
same
Speaker.
thing. Take a seat.
Order, Honorable Speaker.
Take a seat. You cannot tell me order, Honorable Mengage. Take a seat. You are the one out of order. Take a seat. Take a seat. Thank you very much. Now, honorable members, any question raised by the House, I don't take for granted. I'm surprised the honorable member can walk away while I'm answering the issue. Now, Honorable Gideon raised it in the last sitting that the only notice that should be given is a gazette notice. That has been given. On top of that, the gazette notice must specify the only nature of business. The only nature of business that can be transacted. And that is why I specified and I've printed. Let us proceed. Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, there is a pertinent concern that Honorable Fred has raised. And to the best of my knowledge, and if my memory serves me right, there was no notice of motion.
I wanted to answer that. I have a write-up for the same, Honorable Gideon. I wanted just first to dispense off. Let me proceed to that. Notice on special sitting regarding a notice of motion. A notice ordinarily is given in order to create awareness to the honorable members and the public of the intention to move a motion and to fulfill a constitutional requirement under Article 196. In the ordinary course of business, a notice is given in plenary by the motion mover, and then time for moving the motion is allotted by the House Business Committee. A special sitting is provided for under Standing Order number 30. The sitting is one which is done outside the calendar of the Assembly and has to be gazetted in the Kenya Gazette before the sitting is held. The provisions of Standing Order 33 and 4 takes care of the issue of notice. The Gazette notice is a notice of motion in itself that the business that is intended to be transacted is specified in the Gazette notice, and that is the only business for that sitting. The requirement for gazettement under Standing Order 34 suspends the provisions of Standing Order 47 and 50. This is also the practice in all other county assemblies and parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly. Furthermore, Standing Order number 52H, that a motion raising a question of privilege may be moved without a notice. Honorable members, when Honorable Gideon raised the issue, I think yesterday, I went into research and tried to establish the provision. Because a special sitting is not in the ordinary course of business, the reason why we are told when you are gazetting, you have to specify the nature of the business. Number one, you have to specify, for example, tabling as well as the moving of the motion. That acts as a notice. In the ordinary course of business, we never print such. We normally discuss in the House business, it is allocated time, whatever the notice is given on this plenary. Now, that notice under the special sitting is normally given in writing and has to be gazetted. That is the power that the mover of the motion gets in moving the motion. So that is the position.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable David.
Honorable Speaker, because I don't want such precedents to happen again, I want you to clarify for us, Honorable Speaker. I remember the other time, the other committee tabled the report, Honorable Speaker, and then it was dismissed. I don't know, in the sight of law and procedure.
Dismissed? Which one?
The previous Fuado committee.
Mm-hmm.
So that the powers and privileges took over.
Okay.
Does it mean that we preempted the report?
Could I clarify?
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to clear, Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
So that we know how it stopped.
Okay, okay.
I thought maybe it would have come during the motion. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, there was a letter, you said there was a complaint from one of the committee members which was supposed to be tabled. I think it would be in order also, Honorable Speaker, so that it can be tabled, because in the answer, you, as a chair of that day, Honorable Speaker, you said it was supposed to be tabled.
Okay, Honorable Singoya.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi. Bwana Spika, ningependa kujulishwa ya kwamba mheshimiwa mwenzetu akisema sisi ni rubber stamp, nataka nijue kweli ni sisi ni rubber stamp ama ni namna gani, kwa sababu hiyo sikubaliani. Nataka Bwana Spika tujulishe kama sisi tuko hapa kama rubber stamp.
Also, Honorable Speaker,
let me give
on the same point of...
Yes, Honorable.
I second what the Honorable Singoya said. And Honorable Mengage, you should specify who is the rubber stamp, because you cannot collectively call members rubber stamp, honorable member for Lesos. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the honorable member has been in media saying he resigned.
Honorable Koech, take a seat. You are out of order. We are not discussing the conduct. We are not discussing the conduct. Let me first answer a very pertinent issue that you've raised. The ad hoc committee tabled a report. The report stands tabled. That has not changed. It was not dismissed. That is why we allowed it to be tabled first and then communication after the tabling. So that even if you look at the terms of reference for the powers and privileges, they were dealing with a report that has been tabled, not any other. Before the tabling, there would be no agenda for the powers and privileges. So the tabling of the report happened, and then subsequently after, a complaint can be raised after the tabling. And that is what I want to give the chance for the move of the motion to proceed, so that it now opens up for members to discuss and deliberate on the same.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes,
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mengech.
Let me say this.
Yes,
Number one, Honorable Speaker, of all reports, ad hoc reports that have ever, like the ad hoc report on the loss of tires and cement, a special sitting was called, and members were given time to read and internalize the report. Forget about the issues being raised about my conduct, about being rubber stamp. The issue, Honorable Speaker, is we would become rubber stamps if a report is tabled and in 5 minutes you want us to discuss the report. That is why I'm saying the county assembly will be a rubber stamp, because members will not have internalized the contents of the report. Honorable Speaker, you have read the standing orders. I have no issue with the standing orders. I have an issue with trying to say within 10 days. What does it mean within 10 days? Your committee where you chaired had 10 days to receive submissions from witnesses, present the report to the county assembly. But you made sure that you are tabling the report at the tail end of the 10 days. So where is the failure? The failure is in the leadership of the county assembly, where you sit as the speaker, Honorable Speaker. So I'm saying I cannot sit here, Honorable Speaker, representing the people of Lesos.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Let him finish, then you can come on a point of order.
I cannot stand here, Honorable Speaker, representing the people of Lesos, representing the interests of the people of Nandi, sit here and expect me to read a report without internalizing it and then discuss it. Honorable Speaker, you are not being fair, because in the past, we had 2 days gazetted. The first day was to table the report. The second day was to debate on the report. That is my main issue, Honorable Speaker, about whether what Honorable Koech has raised, whether we should have given a notice, what Honorable Fred has raised. That one you have read. That one is okay. The notice, the gazette notice is adequate. What about the fact that I remember the budget report? I walked out of this assembly because the same issue happened. The report was tabled in the same sitting. You want us to discuss the report. Honorable Speaker, I'll be walking out of this county assembly. Reason being, the county assembly, as Honorable Chepkwony has always said, is a house of procedure. We cannot then force these members to swallow this report and then digest it and then adjust it within the next 10 minutes. It's not possible. Thank you.
Honorable Fred, you'll be the last to speak before I can give direction on the same.
Mheshimiwa Spika, unajua vile Mheshimiwa Mengeja anaongea ni ukweli mtupu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwangu mimi mliniita kwa hiyo kamati, nikawauliza ya kwamba mimi wakati nilisoma sijapita Kiingereza, nilipita Kiswahili. Hivi vitu yote imeandikwa kwa Kiingereza, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi inabidi nibadilishe kwanza ikuwe Kiswahili. Unaniambia hata saa hii, hata nikisoma saa hii sitamaliza, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na sheria inaniruhusu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kipengele namba 76, Mheshimiwa Spika, inakubali Kiingereza, Kiswahili na kuongea na mkono. Mheshimiwa Spika, yale nashangaa sasa unasema ati inapitishwa saa hii, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Fred, I don't have a problem except when you make infactual statements. The Speaker does not approve. The first thing. Number two, it is for consideration. The business before us is moving for consideration. There is no guarantee that when you are considering, it means that we are passing. I don't know why you preempt that and say that I have made it a rule that it must be passed. That is not the position. just giving the business, and that's why I wanted to give the chance for the move of the motion to proceed, so that it is up to you. In fact, you are, you are prejudicial.
Mr. Speaker.
Let me finish, because I just wanted to correct that sentiment that you're making with, it is not that a gun has been put on your head that we want you to pass by now. That is not the case. That is why, as procedure, as you say, is move the motion, let us discuss, we can have our consideration. How many times have we brought motions here? The Honorable David Koech has been on record himself saying, can we get time? How many times? How many times even statements have been placed here, it has been read out, and then even Honorable Mengech is on record saying, can we give Honorable Maru time? We do that, but we move fast the motion. So why the feeling that you are being forced? Who is forcing anyone? There is no forcing. It's just the procedure. Just reading out, and then if you decide, if you so wish, the same can be moved. There's no problem with that. Nothing stops that. We've just moved an amendment right now to ask for 20 minutes. So what is the difficulty in that? Because, I have a problem with accusations that are very open-ended. Very open-ended accusations. You have a right to say, I have a problem with this, but within the norm. And we have record that we've never forced anything.
Mheshimiwa Spika.
So finish quickly before I can give, then you can now decide.
Juu hata hiyo maswali unauliza, mimi sijakuuliza hivyo, nimekuuliza mimi sielewi kwa Kiingereza. Nafikiri hiyo maswali unajibu ni ya mheshimiwa. Kwa sababu mimi yale nimeongea haihusiki na yale umesema Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ningependa nipewe nafasi Mheshimiwa Spika. Hii mambo yote mimi nalaumu Clark. Kwa sababu gani Mheshimiwa Spika? Yeye ndiye angetupatia habari, kwa sababu ile barua nilipewa kwa mtandao, niliambiwa tu unaalikwa kwa bunge. Si kuambia kwamba ni juu ya nini. Kwa sababu sheria inasema lazima useme ni juu ya VETA, ni juu ya nini, sijaambiwa. Hiyo ndio maana unasema nasema hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningependa kutufuata sheria. Tuangalie, tupewe nafasi. Hii ni ya kufuta mtu kazi. Hii ni ya kwenda kutini. Hii ni ya kupigana. Unajua hizi mswada kawaida. Hii si rahisi vile unafikiri Mheshimiwa Spika. Na tungependa Mheshimiwa Spika, simama kidete kwa ofisi yako. Saa hii vile tumekaa hapa, ule mtu angekuja saa 12 ni Mheshimiwa Clark ndiye angekuwa saa 12. Hii mambo yote ingekuwa hivi, tungekuwa tumesoma. Sasa wewe unataka kufunika kwa umbrella wala watu wafanye kazi. Wale wafanye kazi tuliyekuambia kwa Mkuji na tunakuambia kila siku. Sisi hatuwezi lazimishwa kwa vitu kama hii. Kama tungepewa barua jana na tutumie kwa mtandao Mheshimiwa Spika, tungetumiwa kwa mtandao Mheshimiwa Spika, tungekuwa na nafasi ya kusoma. Saa hii tunaomba tusome. Kwa sababu gani? Mimi hata nikiwa hapa, hata ukinipatia kwa nisome, nitamaliza muda mrefu Mheshimiwa Spika. Alafu ya kumalizia Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria inasema hivi, wakati mswada imeletwa bunge hii ni kupitisha ama ukatae. Wale waheshimiwa wanaelewa wangepitisha mapema, kama mimi sielewi. Ndakuwa nimechanganyikiwa. Hiyo ndio tunasema Mheshimiwa Spika, kama kuna watu wameshindwa na hii kazi ya ofisi ya County Assembly, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kama mheshimiwa, watu wajiuzulu waende nyumbani. Si hatu tunapembelezana hapa, tunapembelezana ya nini? Tumechagua, unajikimalizia Mheshimiwa Spika, ni uchungu. Tumechagua Mheshimiwa Spika, tumechagua clerk wawili, tumechagua mawakili, tuko na wafanyakazi wa clerks, tuko na watchman, na sisi waheshimiwa tunahangaika Mheshimiwa Spika. Sisi tutachukua jukumu, tutakaa chini kama waheshimiwa, na niliambia Mheshimiwa Kiranja wetu tufanye mkunji yetu peke yetu, tuongee yale imetufinya Mheshimiwa.
Honorable Fred, therefore that provision you can, we're just going back and forth. I need to provide an avenue for your consideration. I'll give first the move of the motion to move the motion, and then after that, if you seek an adjournment, I think the majority leader, under standing order number 32, under standing order number 33, is at liberty. He can consider that if he so wishes. And that is now in the interest of the majority. But in the meantime, first thing first, it has to be brought to your attention so that then you can proceed from there. Honorable Sang, quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to move a motion that this House to adopt the report on the Powers and the Privileges Committee on the investigating of the Kapsabet municipality and the project under Kenyan Support Program. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank the members, the chair, and I've seen the way the members are just discussing about this document is full. The document is self-explanatory, honorable members, and I will always wish to see the terms of reference, and we go to the finding and then the observation of the members from the committee, and then these other members now. So we will see the terms of reference. Honorable members, is that number one, that the members sit and decide that what are we going to do while investigating is that the establishment whether the ad hoc committee on inquiry on the status of the Kenyan municipality and implementation of the project under the Kenyan Urban Support Program conducted it's within the confines of the County Assembly proceedings and the doctrines of the committee. 2, we have to consider whether the usual administrative channels were adhered to by the ad hoc committee in the processing and submission of the report. 3, establish whether the report table was the authentic one and as adopted by the committee. 4, if there was a breach of standards and applicable law in handling the ad hoc committee. And then 5 is that we have the established capability of the omission and the commission by the ad hoc committee members and the secretariat possible sanction, if any. That's now the members. That was the terms of reference by the committee members. And members are lost straight away to see the findings because the self-explanatory can go through about the finding where the witnesses. But let us see only on page 33 on the findings by the committee members so that we can move. So if you see the committee findings on the testimonies of the ad hoc committee, is that we have one, that the ad hoc committee was constituted on 2nd June 2020, a motion by Honorable Frederick Kemboy, and directed to submit its report within 14 days from the date of the information. On 17 June 2020, the chairperson, Honorable Kipkirui Kwon, sought for the extension of time with a letter dated 17 June. The Speaker approved the request for the extension and allowed the committee further 7 days beginning from 18 June 2020 to 24 June 2020. Therefore, the committee mandate was to lapse on 24 June 2020. 2, that the committee, the Speaker submitted its report on 1st July and was tabled in plenary on Wednesday, 1st July 2020. 3, that on Wednesday, 24 June 2020, Honorable Kipkirui Kwon, while presiding as a Speaker of the day, on responding to an inquiry by a member of the House, averred that the ad hoc committee had submitted the report to the office of the Speaker. 4, from the answered report proceeding of the meeting for the adoption of the report, the meeting was held on 25th June 2020 as from 3:20 p.m. at the clerk's office and it lasted for 7 minutes and ended at 3:28 p.m. 5, as by the answer on 25th June 2020, the meeting, the 2 additionals were made to a draft report to read that the board be reconstituted within 7 days, taking into consideration of the urban areas and cities Act Amendment 2011, and that the names of the individual committee executive members be deleted and substituted with the office. The additionals as captured in the answer were missing in the table committee report, annexed in the copy of the answered report. 6, that despite the issuance of the proper notice for the meeting to be held on Wednesday, 24, 2020, the chairperson failed to convene the meeting despite his presence, and that all the other members, other committee members. 7, Honorable Kipkirui Kwon, while presiding as a Speaker on 24, 2020, made pronouncement that the other committee had submitted its report to the office of the Speaker. However, the committee finds that information be factually incorrect, since the report was adopted on 25th June 2020 and forwarded to the Speaker's office on 1st July 2020, which contradicts the information provided by Honorable Kipkirui Kwon. 8, the committee finds that there was disparities between the contents of the table report, on the other hand, and the testimonies and written submission of Honorable Cynthia Muge, Nancy Jerotich, Moses Kemei, Daniel Mutai, Isaac Tum, and Walter Bundatich. On the other hand, the written submission are annexed to this report. However, 6 members of the ad hoc committee disown any other report than the one tabled on 1st. 9, the committee finds that the chairperson diverted from the standards and the norms of the legislative practices, which he left with the report on Thursday, 25th June. It was expected that upon adoption of the report on 25th June, the chairperson was to deliver the report to the lead secretariat for transmission to the office of the clerk and the Speaker. 10, the committee established that the secretariat had a challenging working relationship with the chairperson. However, the secretariat had good working relationship with the committee members. 11, upon examination of the testimonies of all the witnesses, this committee calls upon into the question the conduct of the officer, Walter Bundatich. 12, that the ad hoc committee did not take cognizance of the legal weight of the timeline within which they were to finish their work. They have to finish their work, sorry. The deadline of the term of the committee as per the law on 24th, therefore nullifying the committee meeting on 25th June 2020. Number 13, this committee finds that the ad hoc committee lacked jurisdiction to hold a meeting or to make further changes to the report after 24th 2020, since its mandate had lapsed on 24th June 2020. Number 14, Mr. Speaker, that the report as tabled by the chair of the ad hoc committee is not accompanied by the minutes adopting the report. This committee, number 15, finds that the chairperson of the ad hoc committee on the Kipkurui is in a breach of Section 16C of the County Assembly Powers and Privilege Act. That was the finding, Honorable Speaker. And then when we go to the recommendation, Honorable Speaker, that we have 4 recommendations. 1, that there be a thorough sensitization of the House membership of the operation of the committee, especially responsibility for board members and secretariat. That the House membership be thorough abreast of the Assembly's code of conduct and committee operational manual. That the House membership and the secretariat to uphold high standards of professionalism. And then 4, the ad hoc committee report has been adopted outside the mandate period, the mandated period standard void by operation of the law. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, is that this committee was unable to determine the necessity of the ad hoc committee report owing to the conflict testimonies of both members and the secretariat. And I call Honorable Swati to second. What is it, Honorable Swati? Okay. So members, I think it was there's an information that I left about. Having found that the chairperson of the ad hoc committee is in a breach of provision of Section 16 of Powers and Privilege Acts, the committee serves a formal warning to the member. The committee calls upon the membership, especially the chairperson of committees, to exercise the highest level of integrity while handling the assembly work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I call Honorable Swati to second.
Honorable members, I propose the question on the motion and any other issues arising about the report. The same can be debated. Honorable Fred.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker.
Proceed. Yes.
Now that the report has been moved and seconded,
Yes.
I have some preliminary objection.
Yes.
And I want to invite you to give a ruling on this. As I ask for you to table for the letter to be tabled, I want to raise understanding order 90, statement of facts. Mr. Speaker, the standing order is very clear in matters in relation to what someone's claim should be authenticated. For purposes of this session, can we have that letter tabled and then we scrutinize? I want to know whether an anonymous letter is enough to warrant or to call to question an entire report. The letter is indicating member. Is it member of the committee? Is it member of the assembly? Mr. Speaker, I want to be guided on this before we proceed to the deliberation of this report.
Honorable Gideon, without wasting time, I think I'll proceed quickly to answering yourself. When the Powers and Privileges Committee sat and invited the members of the ad hoc committee, that was a preliminary question that was raised. It stemmed from a communication that I made as a chair about receiving the same complaint. The first thing I noted, as per the County Powers and Privileges Act, it must be a complaint. And even the chairperson of the ad hoc robustly prosecuted that issue. And my concern or my answer to the same was pretty straightforward. What can trigger the Powers and Privileges Committee to act is upon direction which arises out of a complaint. And the complaint must be subjective in nature. For example, it is immaterial for a member, or it is impossible for a member who was not a member of the ad hoc committee, for example, to raise a complaint. But it has to come from a member of a committee. Secondly, the admissibility of an anonymous letter that has to be considered. That one applies as, again, in what way? When it comes to raising a complaint, the provision is given that if it comes in form of anonymous, and that is a standard practice, it has to be delivered in person, not by second party, not by third party. For example, a member of staff cannot raise a concern, a complaint on behalf of another, and it is signed anonymous. That is not the case. So what the committee did, we stapled the envelope, we stapled the letter, and the same was adduced before the committee as well as to the members of the ad hoc that it was submitted by a member of the committee. And that is the start of the trigger. Number two, the nature of the complaint was purely now to look at the conduct, because once a complaint has been raised, we do not have an ability to now to go through and say who says the truth and not who says the truth. We just give an open plenary and we're able to listen. So that is the basis. What I will agree, or what I think the assembly cannot have a problem with, I will ask that the same, in its original, in fact we couldn't photocopy, so that the same cannot be said that it is a hoax or anything, and that's why we staple together with the envelope. The same original, I would ask that, again, the clerks to ensure that it is brought before this, so that it is on the floor of the House, because now that has been considered, the ad hoc committee members had been shown of the same. The chairperson of the defunct ad hoc committee, robustly, in fact, says that he's going to challenge the same, which I think that can be a different jurisdiction in a court of law as to the nature of the evidence. And the same, again, he is allowed, because when it comes to Evidence Act, when it comes to, it is like testimony and oath or testimony in camera. The same thing applies. So that would mean once the chairperson of the ad hoc committee chooses, for example, to proceed to court, it would mean the assembly will have to swear an affidavit. And personally, as a chair, I'll have to swear the affidavit. So once that was settled and the chair of the defunct committee made that, it was agreed then we can proceed on that. We will not have a problem. An affidavit will be sworn for the same, because the chairperson of the ad hoc committee mentioned that he would not wish just to have it end here, but go further. So that would be the case. So that would be my communication. Yes, Honorable Kipkurui, you wanted to...
Before, Mr. Speaker.
Yes,
before you, I think, Mr. Speaker.
So in the meantime,
my point was, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
If I make a pronouncement now that maybe David Koech did this and this, Honorable David Koech did this and this, I must substantiate or withdraw. Mr. Speaker, my question is, the statement was made, you gave a direction without tabling the said letter.
Honorable Gideon,
and subjected,
Honorable Gideon,
and give, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable
allow
Gideon,
me to conclude.
Before you
Mr.
conclude,
Speaker, allow me to conclude.
Before you conclude,
allow me to conclude.
Take a seat first. There's something I need to correct. Just take a seat first, so that I can allow you to conclude. Just take a seat first. There's a small mistake that is fatal to your statement. Number one, a statement, let me finish. A statement not made on the floor of the House. It was a communication from the chair. So don't confuse a statement given as per the standing order on the floor by a member against another member. This one was a communication from the chair stating that we have in receipt of this, and we said in order not to interfere with the jurisdiction of the powers and privileges, because the committee was to consider the same, and the committee considered the same and was subject to challenge. The challenge has been made. The challenge was robustly canvassed before the committee. There was an agreement to disagree. For example, the chair of the defunct says, according to him, he feels that that is not enough. Whatever has been tabled, whatever the committee has considered is not enough. And due to that, he would want sworn affidavits for the same. And that is the only way when it
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Let me finish. I'm finishing. So based on the same, that matter was canvassed in the powers and privileges, it was considered, and that is why the product is here. However, that does not prevent any further solution based on that. So I wanted you, as you make your statement, because I know you hadn't finished, it is not a statement made on the
Mr.
floor. It was a
Mr.
communication.
Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Let Honorable Gideon finish because it was an appointed
Mr.
order.
Speaker, whether it is a statement, whether it is a contribution of a member, whether it is anybody in this particular assembly, when one, because Mr. Speaker, even your communication
Yeah.
is premised on facts. And without that done at that point in time, Mr. Speaker, how can we prove as an house that indeed your office was in receipt of that particular letter? How? When you did not at that point in time table or give authentic, Mr. Speaker. That gives us or cast doubts on the authenticity and when was the letter delivered. I would then proceed to also request that we provided with the CCTV footage to show that indeed a member came to the office of the Speaker to deliver a letter. Because, Mr. Speaker, these are serious issues.
Honorable Gideon.
It puts to question
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
the integrity of members.
Point of
Mr.
order,
Speaker, we cannot just accept an anonymous letter and become a subject of powers and privileges committee. Mr. Speaker, anonymous.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Fred. Although Honorable Kipkurui Chepkonyi was ahead on a point of order.
Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kupata habari kwa hii bunge, wasomi na mawakili ya kwamba kama hii kesi ingekuwa kotini, Mheshimiwa Spika, wewe ungekubali kuendelea na hiyo kesi bila sahihi yote, Mheshimiwa Spika? Kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nimechunga jina yangu nikiwa mtoto mpaka sasa hivi. Saa hii inafunjwa kwa dakika 10 kwa sababu ya uongo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Tunataka ule mtu mwenye aliandika barua ajitokezee kwa sababu hii si dhuluma. Hii ni sheria tunafuata. Yeye atuambie alikataa kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu hii, Mheshimiwa Spika, unipatie nafasi. Hii hata hii karatasi mimi nasoma hapa sielewi. Ile nilipitia sio hii. Najua yale nilisema na yale niliongea. Na sasa hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, unachukua dakika 10 kutengeneza kamati ya kwamba tulumiwe. Unajua umeongea ukasema uongozi wa kamati ni pamoja na mimi. Mimi ni naibu wa Kipkurui Chepkonyi, Mheshimiwa. Yale mambo mnasema yote, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ya kuvunja sheria, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Fred.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Before I can proceed.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
I'm giving Honorable Kipkurui Nini the chance. Before I can proceed, I would wanted to know whether you are contributing, because Honorable Fred seems to be contributing to the motion. Are you contributing to the motion?
Hoja ya habari, sheria inasema hivi. Maybe inquiry in English.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, now let me give Honorable Kipkurui Chepkonyi the chance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My point of order
Yes, Honorable Kipkurui.
is, Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the chair, yourself, to indicate that I did indicate that I was going to seek for sworn affidavit? That is wrongful representation of facts. Honorable Speaker, at no point, even in the Hansard, at no point did I mention such a word.
Point of.
Further
He's
order,
on
Honorable
a point
Speaker.
of order.
Further point of order, Honorable Speaker. Further point of order. Is it in order, Honorable Speaker, for us to be discussing this document, the basis as referred in your comments as a speaker, were that you are in receipt of a letter of complaint by a member of the committee. Honorable Speaker, as we speak now, I expected that that letter be annexed here. When I sought during the sitting of the Powers and Privilege Committee that that information be divulged to me, Honorable Speaker, you could not be able. The letter that was given, that was shared, was anonymous. I sought to know the member of my committee, and you confirmed in the same Powers and Privileges Committee that none of my members owned the letter. And even so, when you look at the findings, none of the 8 members indicated to have drafted a letter of complaint. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, is it in order for us to be discussing this when the second reason why you referred this matter to Powers and Privileges was that you were in receipt of another report? Honorable Speaker, Powers and Privileges Act, Section 17, 15, subsection 5.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Let him finish on a point of order.
Subsection 5. The committee, Honorable Speaker, protect me from...
Proceed.
Subsection 5. That the Committee of Powers and Privileges shall either of its own motion or as a result of a complaint made by any person inquire into the conduct of a member whose conduct is alleged to have constituted breach of privilege in terms of Section 16 within 14 days of receipt of a complaint. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, my accuser is a ghost. Is it in order, Honorable Speaker, for you to have given direction based on 2 reasons, and those reasons are not annexed here? Is it in order for us to proceed?
Honorable members, take a seat. I just want to dispense of that question that has been raised by Honorable Gideon and Honorable Kipkurui, then we proceed. Number 1, we keep quoting procedure. I don't know if we really believe in the procedure, because I've noticed that one of the most favorite thing everyone stands up and speaks about is procedure. But if I choose to pursue you on the same procedure, even if it's a court of law, that's why I give room for the preliminary objection. Let me commence by first providing this. The reason why this matter was referred to the Powers and Privileges was for such issues to be canvassed. In what way? When you have a diverse membership, that is 4 of the members who are members of this House, who are the majority in the committee. First, before a terms of reference is established, each of the member of the committee is seized of the matter. And we say, is this enough to allow us to proceed? If it is adopted by the committee, then that gives them now the responsibility to go further. The same was done. Number 2, we cannot conclude this particular debate on the issue of what anonymous is. I'll just give you a standard practice, which even is not even legal. Let me move away from the law, because I want to simplify this discussion. When a suggestion box is placed... Honorable Gideon, I gave you the chance.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not going to give you a chance.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Gideon, I'm not giving you a chance. Before I finish, then I can allow you to come back. I'm giving directions on the same. It is unfair on your part to expect to just speak and not be responded to. I thought that is what you are trying to cure here. So it is only decorum for us to sit, wait until I finish. I don't have a problem when you speak. I don't know what is wrong with that. Now let me proceed. When a suggestion box is placed there with a concept about anonymity, it's about the comment. I've gone further, and I've laboriously gone further to explain the only time an anonymous letter is admitted is when the person himself comes to the office of the Speaker. Under the Evidence Act, that person is protected. Let me go further. When you go to a court of law, an application can be made in camera. Let me give an example. And I'll use a very simple precedent, because this one is not something new. In 2013, going to 2014, there was a matter that came before the High Court Judge Tuyot. And in that case, it involved the Waitiki land matter. In this case, the petitioner, being Waitiki, seeking that the government pays for compensation of the squatter land. The government, that is the AG, came with a sworn affidavit. And in the sworn affidavit, they say they have evidence that cannot be read before the full court. What happens in that case? The judge then says, under the rules of evidence, unless under extraordinary circumstances, with a view of protecting, because the report was coming from the National Intelligence Service. So what did the judge do? just the same way as I applied. He says, can we then retain the AG's counsel? Can we retain the counsel of the person and let the affidavit be read without disclosing? That is done in camera. The affidavit is shared. It's not even photocopied. It's shared to the other counsel and says, as per the rules of procedure when it comes to such, just like under witness protection, the same applies. We have a legislation on the same. And I painfully sat and said, that has to be considered. That can be canvassed. When the members of the defunct ad hoc committee came before our committee, the chair, and I've said the chair, you've raised a very pertinent issue about the statement I was talking about, affidavit. I was just inferring from the point that you said, you feel you've been defamed. You'll be going to court, and you will seek to face your accuser on court. What would that mean? That would mean...
Point of clarification, Honorable Speaker.
Let me finish. Let me finish, then you can come into it. So when you provide that, then you say the assembly has to come. And that is true. And I said a sworn affidavit can be done. That is not in contention. When you talk about integrity, which is a very important component of this matter, the powers and privileges as an internal committee, when it considers the integrity of processes, we don't leave anything to chance. And if the notion is that the Speaker, by his own motion, took the same, there was no need for me referring to the Powers and Privileges Committee. Number two, it would mean the 4 members of the Powers and Privileges Committee do not have a mind of their own. That is the notion.
Point of clarification, Honorable Speaker.
I'm finishing. I'm just responding to your answer. I want us to be patient with each other. I don't know what is so difficult. So, when we give that position and we allow and say, now let us proceed and listen to that. And we table, in fact, I have asked for the same copy be brought here as an original copy, not even a photocopy. Stamp received. The assembly does not just stamp any document received. Why? It touches including the secretary to the Speaker's office, it touches to the secretary clerk's office, and it also touches on myself. So if you think that we can proceed and just stamp any document received, I think we prosecuted this matter before here. That does not happen. And that is why even if you look at the nature of our work, everything the way we did, it was in consideration of that complaint. So Honorable Kipkuri Chepkwony, if there's a misrepresentation of the specific statement you made, maybe it was purely on the inference that you made before the committee, which as you say, it is on the Hansard, that you would seek to go to court over the same. That is the only thing I made a reference to. Yes?
Honorable Speaker, is it in order then?
Yes.
As you belabor a lot about explaining why you don't want to divulge and make this be in order, Honorable Speaker, is it in order for you then, if you took the matter as a privilege to protect the identity of the person, not to have been able to divide the same to either the accused person in that letter or even the committee? Because, Honorable Speaker, it would be it will be an injustice to face a ghost. Honorable Speaker, there is nowhere in this country that anybody has ever been judged or investigated based on an accusation without facing the accuser. Honorable Speaker, from the start, it is a false accusation and an injustice to my committee and myself as the chair. Honorable Speaker, I find this that you need to be able to guide. We have sought 2 things as the members of that committee: the letter and the name of the drafter of the letter, and the report that you indicated as to have formed basis for the conviction or the convention of the Powers and Privileges Committee. And Honorable Speaker, the choice of words that you are using.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Let him finish. He's on a point of order. Then I can give you this.
The choice of words that you're using, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
At no point, when we seek for clarifications, when we ask for statements, it does not in any way infringe on the functions of the Powers and Privilege Committee. It is a respected committee as per this Honorable House. However, Honorable Speaker, it does not limit us from seeking documentation. And more specifically, the ones that you as the Speaker indicated.
Honorable Kipkuri Chepkwony, just to agree with
an additional to what...
Is it the same?
Yes, I saw that you respond to those.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I seek that we be provided with the Hansard recording of the day when you gave the direction, because on the said day, you committed that there is a complaint, a formal complaint. You are in receipt of a formal complaint, and you are in receipt of another report signed by 4 members. Mr. Speaker, these are just the basis for our discussion. Could we be provided with the Hansard of the day you committed this to Powers and Privileges Committee, so that we'll be talking from the premise of your direction as a Speaker?
Honorable Gideon, let me just answer before I can give you. I just wanted to answer Honorable Gideon. Honorable Gideon, you are given a chance to appear before Powers and Privileges. The same was not canvassed. The same was not canvassed. So, at the tail end of the process, when a product of the work has been brought to the floor of the House, it is not procedural at the tail end. It's like at the Court of Appeal, you want to introduce new facts. All these were canvassed. Secondly, Honorable Kipkuru, you are correct on one aspect about the nature. And something interesting, just to confirm that your point of view is, when statements of facts are brought, if you look even at the conclusion of the report, not even to preempt your discussion, at the end of the day, we never went further than purely sticking to processes. Because on the facts, it was one word against the other person. So, Honorable Kipkuru Chepkwony, just to show you, and I would want you to deliberate on the nature of the report so that you can be able to confirm that your points, and these are the same points you made and they were taken on board, the same has not been disputed. But before I can, Honorable Clara, you had a point, then I'll give Honorable Swadi, Honorable Hillary, and if there will be any other comment.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to inquire, although it sounds like it's been overtaken by events. Honorable Speaker, when the Deputy Speaker was moving this motion, he said that the Chair ad hoc was being hostile to the committee and disrespectful. And at the full glare of this House, he's also being disrespectful to the Chair, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this should not be allowed. We have sat here and seen Honorable Kipkuru Chepkwony lecture the Chair, Honorable Speaker. The eyes that they're looking at me, both of them, Honorable Speaker, tells you that something is not right. Honorable Speaker, we cannot allow. Honorable Speaker, if the 2 members want to dwell.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Let him finish. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of inquiry, then you can come.
Mr. Speaker, she's doing an inquiry.
Proceed, Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, we were just sitting here, statement of facts and the rest.
I understand.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable members,
the honorable member
is
alleging.
I can protect you, Honorable Gideon.
That we have been doing lectures.
I can protect.
When we are raising very pertinent concern that you are also responding to.
I can protect.
So could you give direction to Honorable Clara?
Members,
we know, yeah. we might be reading from different script, but she should confine herself to what the procedure said.
Honorable Clara, when a member is on the floor, only one can stand. Take a seat. Take a seat, Honorable Clara.
So, Mr. Speaker, it cannot be premised on the fact that if you raise concern severally, you are not doing any lecture. Or give direction. If we are doing lectures, then you rule us out of order.
Honorable Gideon.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Before even you can give that, let me first answer that. Honorable members, let us calm
Honorable
down.
Speaker.
Let us just calm down first. Honorable members, let us calm down. I think the members who we were together in the Powers and Privileges, that was our guiding principle. We calm people. We understand the nature of the report and the nature of emotions it will raise. Personally, I don't feel that Honorable Kipkuru Chepkwony has had any affront on me. He's been prosecuting his case, and you'd understand because he's the main person who seems that wants to address the same. So I want us to calm down. There's no problem if someone raises an issue, the man of raising, as long as it is within decorum. So far, so good. I don't find any transgression on the part of the Honorable Kipkuru or Honorable Gideon. So far, so good. They are just making their statement. So with that, Honorable members, let me just allow members to contribute.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Kipkuru.
Honorable Speaker, I seek that the Honorable Member Clara does withdraw and apologizes to me, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, by me giving my contributions in whatever form, whether order or information, Honorable Speaker. I do not intend to be lecturing. And Honorable Speaker, that is maligning my name, Honorable Speaker, and I demand that the member apologizes and withdraws the statement.
Honorable members, order, honorable members. Honorable Deputy Speaker, you will have a right of reply. Order, honorable members. I think I've already given direction on the same. If I would now, I want to give people to contribute on the same. Honorable Elfas, were you the one seeking to contribute on the same? Honorable Kipkurui, I'll come back to the same. I understand. Honorable Fred, unless you are contributing, proceed.
Hoja habari Mheshimiwa Spika.
Yes, Honorable Fred.
Kuna kipengele ya hiyo kamati. Kipengele namba 15(5). Nitasema tu kwa Kiswahili Mheshimiwa Spika.
Proceed, Honorable Fred.
Inasema kama kamati hiyo kamati lazima kama kuna shida lazima walete mswada bungeni ama mtu ameandika barua. Mheshimiwa Spika, niliitwa na hii kamati. Nikauliza barua gani imefanya hii kamati iundwe kuongea juu ya hii habari tulikuwa tunaleta. Tukaambiwa kwamba hiyo barua haikuwekwa sahihi. Ndio ningependa kuuliza kulingana na hii kipengele Mheshimiwa, kwa sababu hii ni kipengele ya hiyo kamati. Mlitumia sheria gani kuunda hiyo kamati? Kuuliza kuongea juu jina yetu na sheria haiambatani na hii Mheshimiwa Spika. Nimeuliza mara 3. Nikakuuliza kwamba utupatie hiyo barua tuangalie nani alikuwa na wasiwasi na ile mambo tulikuwa tumeongea juu yake. Sijapewa mpaka leo Mheshimiwa Spika. Umeleta mswada bungeni Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningependa kupata habari kwako ya kwamba hiyo kipengele inafanya kazi ama haifanyi kazi. Utusomee kwa lugha ya Kimombo kwa sababu unajua sasa hivi tuko kwa mtandao. Wananchi wanaangalia yale tunafanya. Mimi nimechakuliwa kwa sababu ya jina, sijasoma. Sasa wewe unaanza kuniharibia hiyo jina yangu tayari Mheshimiwa. Na kipengele ni wazi inasema hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika. Utusomee hiyo habari kama unataka bunge tuendelee kutoka leo na kwenda mbele, sheria iko hapa. Kamati waliundwa bila kufuata sheria. Mtusomee kama mlileta mswada hapa ama kama hiyo barua iliandikwa, utupatie ni nani aliandika na aliweka wapi sahihi kulingana na sheria hii bunge Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu tunaona hii mambo tunafanya hapa, hii ni mambo ya kutulumu mwingine tu. Juzi niliongea kwa kamati yao kwamba mnanitulumu kwa sababu gani? Mnaniita kwa hiyo kamati na sheria iniruhusu. Unaniambia niweke Biblia juu na wewe hujaniambia nani amelalamika? Hakuna mtu ameandika barua ameweka sahihi. Unatuambia iko mtu. Sisi kama waheshimiwa hakuna kuogopa mwingine. Sheria ni sheria. Na sheria inaruhusu kulinda huyo mtu. Sheria inaruhusu Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Clerk kupatia security huyo mtu. Achungwe kama ameweka sahihi. Sisi tunataka haki kwa hii bunge. Utupatie barua, tuendelee na hii mswada kwa sababu hii ni kuharibu jina ya mtu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hizi mzuri. Nimesikia Mheshimiwa Clara akiongea hapa. Pengine hana habari, unajua ameingia sahihi. Wacha nimpatie sheria asome na tuambie nani ameandika barua.
Honorable Fred, take a seat.
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Clara, take a seat. Take a seat. Let us proceed. That matter I have addressed conclusively. Let us proceed. Honorable Hillary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that is before the House as a member of the Powers and Privileges Committee. Mr. Speaker, we sat and interrogated.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Contributing, Honorable Terry, what is it?
I'm standing on our standing orders to note that Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony is not properly dressed.
Hoja.
Honorable members. Honorable Fred.
Hoja ni damu Mheshimiwa Spika.
Yes. Honorable.
Kipengele namba.
Yes. Honorable Fred.
Kipengele namba 82 Mheshimiwa Spika. Lazima Mheshimiwa yote akiongea lazima ataje kipengele. Mheshimiwa Terry ametaja kipengele Mheshimiwa.
Honorable Fred, she is mentioned the standing order number 30. But first thing first.
Which standing order? Hajasema Mheshimiwa Spika. Hiyo ni kipengele 102. Mheshimiwa Terry hajasema mambo kama hayo Mheshimiwa Spika.
Nimesema hiyo kipengele 102 is not properly
Honorable
dressed.
members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Can we be able, can the sergeant confirm the same? Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony, you're a senior member of this House. There is no better person who understands procedure. So I would want you to be excused to just go dress properly, and come back to the floor of the House. Within 10 minutes, you'll be back.
Honorable Speaker, sorry, kindly be guided. I seek that I be guided on what is not proper, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, if I can speak so that you allow me to excuse myself.
Mm-hmm.
I am dressed in a blazer, in a shirt, in a tie, and in a pant. And with shoes, leather shoes, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, my shoes might be confusing people that it is.
The problem is your trouser.
It is a pant, Honorable Speaker.
We have,
Can you read the standing orders?
We have previously thrown out and we set the precedent on what kind of trouser. So, Honorable Kipkurui, please come back to the floor properly dressed. Honorable Hillary, proceed.
Is aware.
Mr. Speaker, as a member of the committee, we sat, interrogated the members, interrogated the secretariat.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Cynthia.
Honorable Speaker, I'd like to inquire from your office. If, Honorable Speaker, it is in order or is it fair for a honorable member who is the chair of a report that is being deliberated on this House to be done in his absence? It's not fair, Honorable Chair. Kindly give your guidance because I feel it is a bit unfair.
Honorable Cynthia, when you talk about unfairness...
Point of invention, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Walter.
I think, Honorable Speaker, that has got no issue because we have the vice chair, Honorable Speaker, so the motion can continue.
Honorable Cynthia, I would want to rule you out of order because one...
Also, addition, Honorable Speaker.
No problem. No, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Let us proceed. Honorable Hillary, let us proceed. Let us proceed in the interest of time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this motion is eliciting a lot of excitement. Mr. Speaker, today we are deliberating on this report. I support, of course, as a member, but then if members have taken time now, it has been a while now since we started deliberating on it, members will realize that there are facts and there are information which we cannot just throw away for purposes of the integrity of the House. The Secretariat indicated a lot of inconsistency with the usual. To an extent that the report is being amended outside the sitting. Members, that is abnormal. To the extent that a chair of the committee, approaches a secretariat member, a clerk, and issues instruction for the editing of the report outside the committee sitting, normal sitting, is improper.
Honorable Fred, what is it?
Ningependa kupata habari.
Take a seat, Honorable Hillary.
Ningependa kupata habari kuhusu vile mheshimiwa anaongea. Mheshimiwa Kipkurui ni kiranja wa hiyo ad hoc committee. Iko sheria gani uongee kwa ile kiti ya juu? Inamaanisha basi hii mpango mlikuwa naye ni kuharibia mheshimiwa Kipkurui jina yake. Kwa sababu yeye haihusiki na yale mambo tumefanya. Na mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kupata habari pia tumeuliza. Mheshimiwa Spika.
Welcome back, Honorable Kipkurui.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeuliza kuna barua tumeuliza.
Honorable Fred, the same has been adduced. Secondly, I want...
Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua yale mambo tunaongea utupatie nafasi. Hata sisi
I give you the chance to speak so that you also, because I answer you, I have already given the same. So I do not interfere. Secondly, you will have a right to contribute. You see, you wanted to respond to what the honorable member is raising. It is part of the consideration, and you will give your chance. You see, I wouldn't want when you are speaking, someone else interferes with you. So just prepare so that when you will be speaking before the floor of the House, answer them and directly go for the issues that he's raised, because I cannot again go back to the honorable member to substantiate when he's reading from the report, so that when you'll be speaking, speak to that content when I'll give you the chance.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua sheria inaturuhusu hoja ya habari. Na wewe uweze kutupatia nafasi tuongee. Wacha mimi niongee matope yangu. Wewe unijibu Mheshimiwa Speaker. Si hata nikiongea kufika katikati mimi ni mheshimiwa. Uweze kungojea sana nimefika katikati unaniambia hapana. Mheshimiwa mwenye ameongea jina ya Mheshimiwa Kipkurui Chepkwony kama kiranja wa Kenya mzima. Hiyo ni kuharibia jina. Inaonekana hata hii kamati haikuwa na nia yote kuhusu kwa hiyo habari. Kwa sababu unasema unaongea direct kwa sababu gani? Yeye aongee ile lugha ya bunge, aongee kulingana na habari hii Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa sababu unanyamaza. Sasa inamaanisha basi mlitafuta Mheshimiwa Kipkurui.
Honorable Hillary, I think you'll have a chance as you make reference to the report. Make
Thank you,
reference to the
Mr.
report
Speaker.
and refer Fred
Mr.
to the
Speaker.
same so that he can respond.
I think the report is clear here. The report mentions names of the members. It is not something I'm bringing out of the report. It is written here, Honorable Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, these are my comments, briefly, so that the report is self-explanatory as the Vice Chairperson mentioned. Mr. Speaker, we sat down, we listened to the members objectively. We were not unfair in any way. I think during the process, for the benefit of the House, Mr. Speaker, some members who appeared before the committee indicated the same resistance that we are experiencing in this House as to whether we were seated properly, procedurally. And those issues were handled and we allowed them, and after consensus, we proceeded. Members gave their testimonies, the members of staff gave their testimonies, and the report was made. Mr. Speaker, it became clear to the committee I will mention 3 items. The others, as members contribute, they will mention. That number 1, and the report is clear on this, that the mandate of the committee was expiring on the 24th. And on the 24th, all the members of the committee, perhaps except Honorable Fred, perhaps, were within the assembly, including the chairman. And we have information from the clerk, the lead secretariat, that he attempted to inform the chairman to convene the meeting, and it failed. And that was the due date for the committee report. The chair then issued a notice and the committee met on 25th. That was after the expiry of the mandate of the committee, by way of operation of time. So that is one. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it became clear that the report that the members had adopted previously was subsequently amended. However, this team were conflicting. 7 members of the ad hoc committee accepted the report that is before the House now. 1 member of the ad hoc committee and the secretariat disowned that report. And they went ahead to make written submissions indicating areas where they were inconsistent, where they agreed, and according to them, later on, they were amended. So that was a discrepancy that the committee found. The committee found that the chair, yes, we found as a committee that the chair...
Order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Fred, my friend here, whom I respect, is being hostile to Honorable... Yes.
Honorable Fred, let us give a chance to Honorable Hillary to proceed. Honorable Hillary, proceed.
And that is the same hostility that we saw when we were prosecuting this matter in the committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee found that there was a very unique way in which the chair handled this matter.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Hillary Serem has used the word hostile. Mr. Speaker,
Sorry, Honorable Gideon, I'm sorry for that. Proceed.
The Honorable Hillary has used the word that the members were hostile. The same hostility being seen here. Mr. Speaker, could you give direction on this matter? What kind of contribution is that?
Honorable Hillary,
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Hillary,
yes.
Now you have the benefit of doubt. Having sat, I'm sure you would understand. I'm trying to manage and to have some semblance of order. I would rather you desist from throwing accusation. Let's just focus on the content. I'm sure you're finishing so that I give the next person in the interest of time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, what is it, Honorable Fred?
Kipengele namba 122, Mheshimiwa Spika. Iko kwa sheria, Mheshimiwa Clerk hakuja ongea na wewe na Mheshimiwa Wanandis anaongea, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kipengele ni wazi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Labda wakati ya kuapisha mtu, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini kulingana na kipengele haruhusiwi kuamuka kuongea na wewe wakati Mheshimiwa anaongea, Mheshimiwa.
Honorable Fred, that has been noted, and I've equally told Gideon the problem. Honorable Hillary, proceed quickly. I give someone a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the chair, by going away with the report on the 25th, of June, that was unusual. It was outside the practices of the usual practices. Members are aware, Mr. Speaker, that if you are doing a report and you are the chair, it is best practice to leave the report with the secretariat team. That is why they are here, and they will know how to manage it. But the chairman working with it, that was improper. Mr. Speaker, it is grievous that the head of committee chair.
Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need it now.
Ningependa kujulisha bunge ya kwamba hiyo tarehe ya mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwako na Mheshimiwa Gikuyu alikuwa amekaa chini pale akileta habari. Nafikiri hata tukiangalia kwa answer, Mheshimiwa
Honorable Fred,
iko kwa maandishi ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Gikuyu alikuwa speaker siku hiyo na Mheshimiwa Spika hakuwa. Sasa inamaanisha yule maneno anaongea ni uongo mtupu.
Honorable Fred, now I want to give you directions, Honorable Fred. You will be given a chance. Any comment someone makes, write them down. Then when you will be contributing, answer of those so that we can be orderly. Otherwise, there will be interjection, every person speaking. So any person contributing, if you have an issue, just write them down, and then you will collectively prosecute. Finish, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, the chair of the other committee knew very well that the report was yet to be adopted on the 25th, and went ahead on the 24th, as Honorable Fred has hinted, while said that the Speaker's chair, as a temporary speaker, informed the House that the report had been tabled, had been forwarded to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that was improper. And if you can see the zeal at which the other members are quick to interject, Mr. Speaker, it is only fair that the members take a seat and listen and have sense out of this report. You cannot sit there as the Speaker of the day, rule and inform the House and mislead the House, while knowing very well that the next day you will be having a sit to adopt the same report. It will not be fair. So the chairperson deviated from the norms and the standard. Mr. Speaker, upon examination of the testimonies, it has been said that one member of staff, the committee calls into question his conduct because he confirmed that he received instruction from the chair to amend the report in the computer before it was printed. That was outside the committee sitting. It has never happened. So, Mr. Speaker, we as a committee found that the committee led by the chairman conducted itself improperly. Editing of report outside the norms, the chairman working with the report home, failure to convene meeting within the stipulated time despite having been granted extension, adopting the final report outside the mandated period. All this and many more which are in this report, Mr. Speaker, confirms that this report was not done properly. It is true that the same members questioned the authenticity of the anonymous letter. But, Mr. Speaker, we deliberated on that very much, to the extent that we took even 2 hours or over. And by the time we were in a consensus that the committee was properly seated to interrogate the matter, that was settled. So today we have a report. It is not the question of how the report has been generated. The report has been generated because the members came to the committee, they were willing to submit and to listen, and we listened and we offered that time. We have, I want to say this as a member, not even as a committee member, but personally, the verdict that the committee has issued here, in fact, to the best of my judgment, is fair enough. We are saying the report is null and void because it was approved outside the timeline. Secondly, the committee is saying the chair, having behaved and done things abnormally, is granted a warning. If you asked me, it will not be just a warning. You cannot sit in the speaker's chair today and tell the House that you have forwarded the report to the speaker when you know you will approve it tomorrow. If you asked my opinion, that would even have required a suspension from the speaker's chair, speaker's panel. It is not fair by all standards. You are a judge today, because when you are seated on the speaker's chair, you are a judge. And as a judge, you lie. That is improper. So members, I welcome all of us to look at this report, prosecute it, listen to it.
Inquiry.
Would you wish to answer the point of
Kindly.
inquiry? Honorable,
Mr. Speaker, let me just conclude so that it can be.
Honorable Terry, I would prefer, Honorable Terry, and this is what I want to guide members, so that Hilary has
Mr.
finished,
Speaker,
a person will have a chance to speak. Just write your sentiments so that you produce. The interjections take a long time. Honorable Hilary, finish quickly. I need to give the next person.
Mr. Speaker, I have taken much time because my emotions have been aroused because this thing is waiting, and yet the members are trying to shatter it down by questioning on matters procedure. Look, at times we say that the end justifies the means. If in any case, I want members taking note of that. If in any case, the House allowed the Powers and Privileges Committee to sit, and if by law, God forbid, if by law the committee was not properly seated, but then proceeded to get information that is grievous, do you ignore that? So, Mr. Speaker, I support the report of the other committee, and I welcome members to prosecute it and support it. Thank you.
Honorable Fred.
Asante sana
Then
mheshimiwa.
followed by Honorable
Asante
Pius,
sana mheshimiwa.
followed by Honorable Mengech.
Asante sana mheshimiwa Spika. Ya kwanza nasimama kupinga hii habari mheshimiwa Spika. Ya kwanza mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ndio nilete mswada bunge hii mheshimiwa Spika. Nikataka kazi ifanywe. Tukatengeneza habari. Sheria ilikuwa nasema tarehe 24 itakuwa imefika ofisi ya Spika. Tarehe 24 ilifika ofisi ya Spika. Hawakusema bunge. Hata wale wanasoma sheria kila siku hawasemi mheshimiwa Spika. Hawakutuambia tulete bunge. Tulisema kamati yetu haileti habari bungeni. Inaenda kwa kamati, nafikiri kwa kilugha mambo ni house business. Kazi yao ndio ilikuwa inaendelea hapo juu. Sisi tulimaliza kazi yetu na tukapeana. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo kamati iliundwa hii sasa. Ilikuwa ni ya kuchelewesha. Unajua, nilikuja nikagundua kwamba kumbe kuna viongozi hapa ndani walienda wakaongea na mheshimiwa gavana.
Mr. Speaker.
Mheshimiwa Spika.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Mheshimiwa Spika, hao watu wenye walikuwa wanachenga hiyo barabara, contract yao ilikuwa inaisha tarehe 30. Wakataka wasumbue sisi, wasungushe hii habari yetu tumelete ili mtu aendelee. Na siku hiyo wakati walileta hiyo kamati, huyo mtu akaongeza watu 50 Namgwe kufanya kazi. Kumaliza haraka kwa sababu kuna makosa tulikuwa tumepata kwa hii habari. Hii habari hii ni ya ukora mheshimiwa Spika, ni yale wameongeza kwamba kusongesha masiku, yani kuharibu ile habari yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Kikuri anahusika namna gani na kamati? Kiranja wa kamati yote kazi yake ni kusema order. Sisi ndio kama kuna makosa sisi ndio tulipitisha kama kamati. Nafikiri mheshimiwa naibu wa Spika sasa ende anasimamia hii habari mmeleta. Yeye yako na makosa gani? Kazi yake ni kusoma, analeta habari mheshimiwa tumesema, yeye hahusiki na hiyo habari. Na ningependa kusema hivi. Mheshimiwa wa Chemasi ameongea na anajua amefunja sheria. Kama hakuna mtu yote ameandika barua na ameweka sahihi, hiyo ni makosa. Ya pili, Yeye kwa hiyo kamati angelete mswada bungeni ya kwamba anapinga ile habari sisi tulete. Hakufuata sheria. Kulingana na sheria ya kamati yao. 15:5 inasema wazi. Nasema ulete mswada ama mtu alete mtu mwenye amepiga andike barua. Hiyo barua hatujaona. Ile barua tuliona hapa ni ya ukora mtupu ya kuandika tu. Sisi Mheshimiwa Spika lazima tuangalie hii bunge. Na unaona Mheshimiwa Chemasa anaongea akiwa juu. Mimi nilikuja hapa mara 2. Kwa sababu nilipoona Chemasa nikasema huyu mtu wako na chuki na Mheshimiwa Kikurishe. Kwa nikasema acha tupishane kwanza. Na yale ameongea ni yale aliongea kwa kamati ndani. Yale anaongea sasa hivi. Tunataka tuseme kama bunge itaenda hivi. Ati mimi ndio hiyo kazi yote inafanya kwa wadi yangu na Mheshimiwa Chama. Yale mambo unasema ni kwa sababu mliandika barua pale ati mnafunga pesa, ati pesa isiletwe hapa bunge. Mheshimiwa Spika, wacha nikwambie, hiyo ujanja sisi tutakataa kwa sababu huwezi leta mswada hapa, uandike barua pale, ati pesa ifungwe, ati Kapsabet zisijengwe. Unajua wako na uchungu. Wewe kama unaishi Jamasa, tafuta pesa yako Jamasa. Hii pesa imeletwa na wasungu, kama kuna makosa kwenda kutini ama enda anti corruption. Sisi kama bungeni hapa sisi hatujaona makosa. Mimi wacha niwaambie. Kwa hiyo kamati mimi hatuelewani na waziri wa VETA. Lakini sikupata makosa kwake. Sikupata makosa kwake.
Honorable
Fred. Makosa habari yangu iko.
Honorable Fred, let me just take the point of order. I hope you are not commenting on the same so that
Standing order 82, Mr. Speaker.
Standing order number 90.
Standing order 82, Mr. Speaker.
Standing order number 90.
Take a seat first. Honorable Terry, in order to avoid such embarrassment, always know the standing order, then you stand. But proceed quickly. Proceed.
Okay, I stand on standing order number 90 on statement of facts. Honorable member, my MCA for Kapsabet ward, has talked about 2 allegations. The first one is that he's saying some members went to meet with the governor. He should actually clarify. Again, he's saying Honorable Hillary hates Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony. Can he make statements of those facts? Thank you.
Honorable Fred, as you respond to the same, I'm sure you understand. Whenever you've also stated the same, so ensure when you speak, just speak, but ensure you substantiate. Proceed.
Mheshimiwa Speaker,
proceed.
Unajua Mheshimiwa Terry anafikiri pengine akiongea Kiingereza ameniweza. Kwanza amesahau ya kwamba mheshimiwa wake ni Cynthia. Mimi si mheshimiwa wake. Hiyo kwanza ameanguka metiani. Ya pili, Mheshimiwa Speaker, yeye amesikia mheshimiwa huyu akiongea kuhusu Kikurishe Pwani kwa nguvu ya kwamba mkiranja wa Kenya mzima nimemkatasha. Hiyo ni maswali ya pili. Ya pili, hata mimi nilienda kwa hiyo kamati mheshimiwa gavana. Najua wale walikuwa ndani. Sisemi jina sahi. Siwezi sema jina ya mtu wako na anaomba kura. Usianguke mitiani saa yote. Mheshimiwa wako. Wewe unashikiliboni wacha. Ya pili, Mheshimiwa Speaker, nikimalizia.
I want to protect you, Honorable Fred.
Order 90.
Just take a seat, Honorable Hillary. I would want you to qualify, for example, if you talk about how Honorable Hillary thinks of Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony, let it be a statement of opinion, because the House does not have ability to verify whether there is hate, there is love. So make sure you say in your view, but it ends there, so that I don't have to keep getting interjection. So proceed. That's just a statement of opinion.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua kwa nini? Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua kwa nini nilisema?
Just take a seat. Let him finish.
Unajua kwa nini Mheshimiwa Speaker nilisema hivyo? Yale Mheshimiwa Chamasa alikuwa anaongea, angekupatia habari ya kwamba walipatilisha hii wakaweka hii. Mimi nimekuwa pale ndani. Hii habari yenye anasema yenye tulionyesha hapa ndani hakuna mtu mheshimiwa yote aliweka sahihi. Sasa inamaanisha hii habari ni ya mtu fulani, mtu alitoa tu, tuliona kwa mtandao. Yale atuambie kwa ile habari tuliweka sahihi. Mheshimiwa wote waliweka sahihi na hiyo ndio tunajua. Yale yote Mheshimiwa Chamasa anaongea ni ile vitu aliona kwa mtandao tu. Hiyo vitu tuliona kwa mtandao na mimi niliuliza siku hiyo, nini inaonesha hii ni ukweli? Haina sahihi ya Mheshimiwa Speaker, haikuwa nayo. Nafikiri wewe utathibitisha kama ilikuwa na sahihi yako. Ile ilikuwa na sahihi yako ni ile tuliweka sahihi Mheshimiwa wote.
Just finish your presentation.
Alafu nikimalizia Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa nini siungi mkono hii maneno hii kamati Mheshimiwa Speaker? Kulingana na sheria, ule mtu anatengeneza habari yote, mtu aenda lipo pesa ni engineer. Na kwa ile habari yetu tumesema engineer hako na makosa. Ule mtu anaenda kusungua kuangalia hiyo ni kamati ile tulitengeneza hapa hii bunge. Hao watu walitupiliwa mbali wakatengeneza kamati nyingine tofauti. Na tuliweka kwa hiyo habari yetu ya kwamba hao watu waende nyumbani. Waziri wa fedha ana nia yote vile imesemwa hapa. Yeye anahusika namna gani na barabara? Yeye ni kulipa basi akaunti mzima. Na sijasema kwa sababu naunga mkono. Hata yeye penye hapo anajua Mheshimiwa Fred hataki mimi anajua. Lakini penye ukweli ni ukweli. Usituletee mambo ya kudanganya sisi hapa. Hao waheshimiwa wawili tulikatasha mheshimiwa Alfred Taba asikae chini kwa sababu wako na fine ya hii bunge. Hawa ndio alisimama na mheshimiwa akasema lazima afanye hivyo. Na mheshimiwa spika alimruhusu na ndio chair ya hiyo kamati. Mambo kama hii tuangalie. Si ati tunasema kwa sababu unafinya mwingine. Mimi nimesema hii habari mlitengeneza hiyo ni uongo, alafu ya pili kunikaribisha kwa hiyo kamati, hiyo ni uchochezi na hiyo ni uongo. Na hiyo ni upuzi mtupu. Kwa sababu gani? Unaniletea vitu yenye sijaeleweka. Wewe unaniambia kwamba ati wewe hapa Biblia juu, hakuna mtu amelalamika, hakuna mtu ameleta mswada, kamati umetengeneza nyinyi wenyewe.
Honorable Fred, you are out of order.
Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable Fred, you are out of order. The choice of language you use is completely out of order. Yes. I presume that is the issue I wanted to raise. Honorable Pius, proceed.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Fred, yourself, you will not appreciate when someone use insulting language. When you say upuzi, then it means even you speaking there, you know, you are also abusing yourself because you are party to the process. So you cannot use that, and you are a senior member. But not using such words, Honorable Fred, you can make a comment, you can say I oppose, no one has a problem. But using words like upuzi, that is an insult. And no one can even insult you. I cannot allow anyone to insult you on this floor of the House.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua kwa nini unajua unaongea mpaka unachamuka? Kwa sababu hata siku hiyo sikupewa nafasi. Kwa hiyo kamati, Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua kwa hiyo kamati
Honorable Speaker, you apologize.
Honorable Fred.
Nimetupilia mbali.
Honorable Fred, thank you. Proceed. Finish then. I need to give the next person.
Unajua Mheshimiwa Speaker, pengine Kiswahili ni ngumu.
Proceed.
Kutupilia mbali ni kuapologize kwa Kiingereza.
Proceed.
Sasa Mheshimiwa Speaker, unajua hawaelewi.
It is in order.
Ndio maana niliwaambia Mheshimiwa.
Honorable Fred, it is in order. Proceed. Just finish. There is no problem. That is been admitted.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, wacha niongee, roho imerudi chini.
Maliza.
Ile kitu imefanya mimi nikasikia uchungu. Ile kamati mlitengeneza haikuwa inaambatana na sheria ya bunge. Na hiyo ndarudia mpaka nikufe. Ya kwamba sheria inasema kipengele namba, nafikiri sheria ya inasema wazi kama kuna mtu ako na malalamishi yoyote alete mswada bungeni ama andike barua kwa hiyo kamati. Barua iliandikwa haikuwekwa sahihi. Mswada haikuletwa bunge hii. Na hiyo kamati ilikuwa ni ya kuambia mheshimiwa weka Biblia juu ama utoke nje. Hiyo ndio ilifanya mimi nikakasirika. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu mimi napenda sheria hii bunge, nikabidi mimi nikubali. Nikakuja mara ya pili nikakubali. Lakini kukubali hiyo maneno yote Mheshimiwa Speaker, nikaenda nikagundua kwamba kumbe kulikuwa na hesabu. Hiyo kampuni yote inamaliza tarehe 30.
Honorable
Take a seat, Honorable Speaker.
Take a seat, Honorable Fred.
There is alleged letter that I've heard everybody speaking about it, Honorable Speaker. Why don't we be served with the same letter so that we can see?
Fair enough. I would ask the clerks.
I think honorable members should be supplied with that letter.
And then, Honorable Fred, your time is up. I need to give the next person their chance.
Mheshimiwa
Proceed.
Speaker,
No, just finish. And
Mheshimiwa
then
Speaker, kipengele nasema dakika 20.
you have already exhausted. You've exhausted your time.
Mheshimiwa,
if you are using 20 minutes, you have completely exhausted your time. So just finish your last statement.
Ya mwisho Mheshimiwa Speaker, ya kwanza nimeshukuru kiranja wangu. Kwa sababu hiyo kitu ndio imetusumbua roho. Tunataka kama hiyo tutapewa, tutakaa chini na tunaunga mkono hii mswada Mheshimiwa Speaker. Nafikiri Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimeshukuru sana. Mheshimiwa Kiranja, itafika kwako hiyo karatasi, hakuna sahihi yoyote na sisi tumeaitwa kwa hiyo kamati, na ndio naona mimi nimekasirika zaidi Mheshimiwa Speaker. Hiyo kamati hata pengine Mheshimiwa rafiki yangu Chamaza ameongea ni kutulumu. Hata niliwaambia siku hiyo mkiangalia kwa hiyo imerekotiwa. Niliambia hiyo ni tuluma. Kwa sababu sheria haiendi hivyo. Ukiangalia vile inafanyika, ningeomba waheshimiwa tuangushe hii kitu na hiyo kamati tuifunjilie mbali zaidi. Kwa sababu gani Mheshimiwa Speaker? Hawa watu ndio wako kwa sheria, hawa watu wako kwa service board, hawa watu wako wapi na wanatulumu Mheshimiwa Speaker. Asante sana.
Honorable Pius, Honorable Hillary, take a seat first. Honorable Pius, quickly, and I want to give limited time so that people can contribute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to support this report, Mr. Speaker. In order to protect the integrity of this House, Mr. Speaker, basing on the facts of this report, I want to urge members that we support this report, Mr. Speaker. We have been given a responsibility as a House of Rules and Procedures and House of integrity, so as to protect our oversight role, Mr. Speaker. We are actually supposed, or I am supporting this report of powers and privileges, Mr. Speaker. In Old Testament days, Mr. Speaker, when there was any accusation about something on any person, Mr. Speaker, evidence from 3 people were enough, Mr. Speaker, so that any punishment can be done, Mr. Speaker. So in this case, I want to say that I've seen a lot of witnesses to this report, Mr. Speaker, more than 6 of them, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, so that we don't make this house a house of impunity, Mr. Speaker, this information, this report has full evidence that whatever was done actually against the law, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted to talk about the issue of disputed letter by anonymous person. In this case, I want to term this anonymous person as anonymous witness, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know much about the law, Mr. Speaker, but we normally have such cases in law. So if the evidence from this anonymous letter has actually assisted the committee to unearth a lot of errors in the previous report, Mr. Speaker, there is no reason why we should go against this report. So that's why I want to say that I urge members that we support this report.
Honorable Mengech.
Thank you.
Followed by Honorable Terry.
Honorable Speaker, even though I did not have adequate time to read through the whole report, and having the privilege of understanding the shortcomings of human beings, Honorable Speaker, I must begin by saying anonymity is power. I must start by appreciating the anonymous member who had the courage, the moral courage, not even the physical courage, the moral courage of coming out and refusing to accept to be part of the morass of immorality. Honorable Speaker, I will not take a lot of time. As Honorable Murray has said, I will begin by looking at the submissions of one witness, that is a staff member. It is unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, that on 24th, as Honorable Hillary has said, on 24th, as Honorable Hillary and other members remember, I was sitting there, and Honorable Jepkon was then the Speaker. I rose up as a member of House Business Committee because on Tuesday night, we had met through Zoom and allocated time for the tabling of the ad hoc committee report. So when I stood and requested the Speaker for the report, he said, as the chair, he had presented the report to the Speaker. And indeed, that is the beginning of the questionable character of the chair. Lying under oath, that chair must be respected, Honorable Speaker. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, as the witness, Mr. Walter Pundotich says, Honorable members, I believe you have read this, called him to have an informal meeting at the Assembly on 29th. That is 5 days after the Honorable member said that he had presented the report to the Speaker. And in that informal meeting, no notice had been issued. Neither there was the answered, and the following members were present. That is the chair himself, Honorable Kipkurui Jepkon, who apparently calls himself the leader of the minority, the marginalized. Honorable Walter Teno, who is the chair budget, Honorable Fred, who in the report is said to have left without uttering a word, and then Honorable Chair for Lands Environment, that is Honorable Robert Kirwa. In that informal meeting, the chairperson instructed him to alter the report by pointing out areas to be deleted from the report and those to be inserted from his handwritten notes. Honorable Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable comment. What point of order are you standing on?
According to Standing Order number 167, a member who is adversely mentioned in a matter under deliberation by committee shall not be present at any meeting at which the committee is deliberating on the matter. I believe the member...
Honorable comment. Honorable comment.
Here.
Honorable comment, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat, Honorable comment. That one applied, as you say, in the committee, but these are plenary. So in the plenary, because you're prosecuting, Honorable Mengech, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So that one, Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Murea said, the integrity of the county assembly must be protected. And the integrity of the county assembly is the cumulative behavior of every member. 8 members, Honorable Speaker, of the ad hoc committee cannot taint the integrity of the county assembly. Honorable Speaker, courage in the 21st century is not about killing lions like the Morans of the yesteryears. It's about protecting values. Honorable Speaker, having gone through the recommendations by this committee, I see there is a problem, Honorable Speaker. We cannot sit on the fence when we are fighting for justice. And I'll say this, Honorable Speaker, you cannot eat mutton and keep your sheep. You cannot eat pork and keep your pig. It's either you eat the mutton and kill the sheep, eat the pork and kill the pig. Honorable Speaker, I've seen the recommendations. Very lenient on the chair. Formal warning. Honorable Speaker, we must remember that the recommendation is that the report shall not be admissible in the county assembly. What does that mean? Number one, the county assembly has lost its integrity. When it goes out there and it says that the report cannot be adopted, we gave them almost 21 days to report back to the county assembly. There are very serious issues which Honorable Freddy, as a member of the ad hoc committee, knows that we must address. What happens to the fact that we gave the committee the trust to bring us a report here, Honorable Speaker? So I'll conclude by saying, Honorable Speaker, the recommendations, Honorable Deputy Speaker, who is the automatic vice chair of the Powers and Privileges Committee, who presented this report, the recommendations are very lenient. Very lenient. Very lenient in the sense that the accusations leveled against the committee and mostly against the chair, I would be recommending this, Honorable Speaker, that the privileges bestowed upon the following members as powers under the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act.
Information, Honorable Speaker.
Would you want to be informed, Honorable Mengech?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to inform the Honorable Teacher Mengech that there's room for amendments and you can move them, and you're sure I'm here to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member Clara. Honorable Speaker, having seen the recommendations here, Honorable Speaker, having found that the chairperson of the ad hoc committee is in breach of the provisions of Section 16E of the Powers and Privileges Act, the committee serves a formal warning to the member. That is a slap on the wrist, not even on the face. Honorable Speaker, I conclude by saying that a 40-year-old man cannot learn integrity at that age. The only way that man can learn integrity is through punishment. Honorable Speaker, the committees of the county assembly shall not be pools of Siloam to wash away the leprosies of incompetence, corruption, and immorality. Honorable Speaker, there are no two ways about justice, as I've said. You cannot eat your mutton and have your sheep. Honorable Speaker, you cannot eat your pork and have your pig. You cannot fear getting naked and childlessness. Fear childlessness and embrace nakedness. Leadership is courage. And courage is no longer about ripping a lion in Masai Mara. Courage now is about defending institutions like the County Assembly of Nandi. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I am recommending that the chair of the ADO committee, who represents the County Assembly of Nandi in CAF, and who also happens to be the Secretary General of all county assemblies in Kenya, be denied that privilege. I am also proposing that the chair budget, Mr. Walter Kiblagat, who represents the people of Kabiet, should be denied the privilege of sitting as the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee. I am proposing that the chair, Lands and Environment, the representative of the people of Jemundu and Kamngetuny, should be denied the privilege of leadership in the County Assembly Committee. I'll be bringing that motion as soon as possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Terry, quickly. And be very brief, don't be repetitive so that I can give.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And before...
Honorable Speaker, point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Walter.
Can Honorable Mengech define how I can be denied the chairmanship of the budget? Yet we are not discussing here the budget. We are discussing a report from the committee, Honorable Chair. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Walter.
So, Honorable Mengech, I think, Honorable Chair, and I want to put record straight, Honorable Speaker, that Honorable Mengech has been sending me messages. When we passed the budget, he sent me the message that I'm the chair of impunity, Honorable Chair. So, Honorable Chair, can you protect me from Honorable Mengech? Otherwise, this thing, Honorable Chair, is going out of bounds, Honorable Chair. And I cannot allow a member for the source who has failed in his mandate, Honorable Chair. Now we are in three years down the line. We don't have any ECD, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Walter.
In fact, he's the one
Honorable
who should
Walter, take a
resign.
seat.
Honorable Chair.
Take a seat.
He should resign. He should not come here and tell us.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable members. Order.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable members.
Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat.
No, Honorable Speaker.
Take a seat. Honorable Majority Leader, you can sit. You can see the anger. Okay, take a seat.
He wrote the letter. Where is the letter? He wrote to you, Honorable Chair, that he has resigned from the chairmanship of the education.
Yeah.
And he's telling us here I should resign.
Yes. Honorable Walter, take a seat.
Point of information, Honorable Speaker.
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Point of
Just
information,
relax.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable.
Point of information.
Honorable members.
Can you please
Hold that one, Honorable Chair. We cannot allow.
Point of information,
Take a
Honorable
seat.
Speaker.
Take a seat. Now, take a seat.
Point of information.
The budget is
Honorable Koech.
Information.
No, we cannot
Information.
stand both of
We
us.
cannot allow.
Walter.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Walter,
We are discussing
take a seat.
members.
Take a seat.
The budget.
Honorable Walter, take a seat.
We cannot allow.
Honorable Walter, take a seat. Take a seat.
Ujulishaji.
Honorable Walter, no, when I'm standing, honorable members.
Point of
no
information,
member-
Honorable
Take a
Speaker.
seat.
You cannot give-
Order, honorable
we are discussing
members.
a report of
Walter, Honorable Walter, you've made your point. Take a seat. Take a seat. No, take a
Point of
seat.
information, Honorable
Honorable Koech, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. When the speaker is standing, no other member to sit. I can understand. And this is why the speaker sits here.
But we are not discussing the budget,
Take a
Honorable
seat.
Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Walter. I want to
And
address.
I will
want to
table-
protect
I will
you.
table the evidence
Honorable
that
Walter.
Megiddo is telling me.
Honorable Walter, I want to protect you. Honorable Walter, take a seat. Honorable Walter, take a seat. I want to protect you. I understand. Can you calm down, Honorable Walter? Honorable Walter, it is, no. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Honorable Walter, take a seat. Calm down. Honorable Maru, just talk to Honorable Walter. I want to protect Honorable Walter. You've asked me to protect you, Honorable Walter. One thing I can confirm, this session was not about conduct of a chair of any sitting committee. Honorable Walter was not in question. Honorable Walter, you are not in question. Yes, Honorable Walter. Honorable Walter, take a seat. I'm protecting you. Honorable Walter, I'm protecting you, Honorable Walter. Honorable Walter, I hope I have your attention. I'm protecting you. You are not subject to the question. And that is one thing I've been trying to urge honorable members. Remember, all of us have opinions. All of us have facts. What this House allows is debate on issues. That is why we always try to avoid a case of altercation. Number two, Honorable Fred has been on record always saying, when you stand and want to give a fact, stick to the facts. So that we discuss the facts in a sober manner. Like, for example, as this debate was going on, I thought I saw Honorable Mengech and Honorable Walter almost saying the same thing. So such an issue, and that is why, personally, if you look at my table, I have not allowed an amendment that I consider not party to the report. I've just said, let us stick to the issues, look at the findings, and even to stop a case of a member saying a different thing. Like, for example, I stopped Honorable Fred from saying Honorable Hillary hates Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony. Why? Because that opinion cannot be substantiated on this floor. So I want first to appreciate Honorable Walter, you've calmed down, and you're sure I will protect you. It was not a discussion on your character. It was not a discussion about your position as a chair. When it comes to chairpersons of committees serve under the pleasure of the members of the committee. A plenary session cannot consider positions of leadership, positions of committees. The only position that is subject to this plenary is the position of the Deputy Speaker and the position of the Speaker. Those are the only ones that can be canvassed. You can never even find members discussing the conduct of the majority leader within this particular plenary. You cannot find the House saying we want to vote for the removal of the majority leader, majority whip, or the chairperson. And that is why, for example, you don't see the Powers and Privileges Committee overstepping and asking for removal of someone from a committee. One serves at the pleasure and mercy of the team that elected such a person. So let me give, for example, if it comes to Honorable Kipkurui Chepkwony, he serves in the capacity of the Secretary General courtesy of the 47 County Assembly. The mandate comes from the 47 county assemblies. If we were to converse about that issue, it can only be within the General Council of the County Assembly Forum, who the members, I think, in this House are three: Honorable Cynthia, Honorable Kipkurui, and myself. So let us be very procedural in that fact. If it comes to committee chair, like Honorable Robert Kirwa, he serves courtesy of the members of the Lands Committee, including Honorable Komen. So at the same time, the House cannot be able to deliberate. So with that direction, let us stick and finish our discussion on the facts. So Honorable Walter, I can confirm to you that it was not your conduct here. You are serving as a chair of the committee remains the work of the committee. I'm sure you know the other members. You are 7 of you, right? That can only be a discussion of your committee. The Speaker does not get involved in it. A member who is not a member of the committee does not get involved in it. The clerks cannot get involved in it. It is the task of your members. I can see your other members are here. Those can only be your issues. In fact, what the Speaker does is basically communicate, and that should come through the majority leader, being the chair of the select committee. In case if there's any issue about a committee, the majority leader is the one who can come and purely communicate and say that this committee, if, for example, they wish to change membership. If it's about the chair, it has to come from a notice of the members. That is the procedure. So I want members...
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mengech.
Yeah, just to respond to one issue which has been raised. Number one, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Walter has asked whether an Honorable Leader of Majority has asked. I did write a letter of resignation on 2nd of July. The letter was received on 3rd of July by the clerk of the county assembly. That one has been done. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, you said something about that this report is not about the conduct of the members. The only business of the Powers and Privileges Committee is to discuss the conduct of the members. And one of the recommendations of the Powers and Privileges Committee is to deny members who have been indicted privileges, including those positions they hold. I've read that is a fact.
So, Honorable Mengech, let me just finish this. I don't want to allow comments on that. Let me just confirm something. Let me communicate, because that also needs to be communicated. It is a factual, true statement that as we speak, the Committee of Education has the Vice Chair acting as the Chair, because the Chair resigned formally. I have already instructed the Majority Leader to caucus, and I think the House leadership sat in my office and said they're deliberating, and even had a proposal. It was now a question of the Committee of Education to convene and proceed and get another chair. And I think the Majority Leader had given indication that there seemed to be a consensus on how the same can be able to proceed. So it's up to Honorable David Koech.
Point of information, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Koech.
We cannot allow Honorable Mengech to keep on lecturing my members, Honorable Speaker. That to dictate who is to be removed as the chair, Honorable Speaker. If somebody wants to go, you resign, just like you did. Otherwise, implicating that chair, Robert Kirwan is not capable of being the chair of lands.
Honorable Koech.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable
Chairman.
Honorable Koech.
I don't allow that.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable
All my members are promoted.
Honorable members.
The conduct of the members.
Take a seat. Order.
I will not allow that.
Take a seat.
We are on
Majority leader is out of order. Majority leader is out of order.
Order, honorable members.
You cannot lecture members here.
Order.
Yes.
Order, honorable members.
Honorable Mengech is just in order.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mengech is just in order.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat, Honorable Swadi.
Yes.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat, Honorable Swadi. I am standing.
You cannot.
Honorable Swadi. Honorable Swadi.
Honorable Mengech. Honorable Mengech is just in order.
Honorable Swadi. Honorable Swadi. Take a seat.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members. No. Honorable Speaker. Order, honorable members. Order.
Why are you lecturing Mengech?
Order, honorable members. Take a seat.
You
can't allow him to take a seat. Names. Honorable Swadi. Honorable Swadi, take a seat.
Let him not understand
Honorable members. Honorable members.
Yes.
Honorable members.
With power. You are allowing him to tarnish the people's names.
Honorable members.
Can you allow him? How? We are all equal. So he should not tarnish other people's names. He cannot do that, Bwana. We are
Honorable members. Swadi, take a seat. Take a seat first. Take a seat. Take a seat, Honorable Swadi. Honorable Swadi, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Let us take a seat. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members, take a seat. I'll be forced to call off the session. Honorable members. Honorable Fred, you are unruly. Honorable members, Honorable Fred, I think I'll be forced to declare that the session is unruly. I'll be forced to declare the House to be unruly. Honorable members, the session is going to abort and we are adjourning indefinitely. That is my direction.